The way we think is the most powerful force in shaping the lives we lead. Everything we experience, everything we do, starts with a thought. Thoughts are not just fleeting whispers in our minds, they are the architects of our reality. If you pause for a moment and consider where you are in life, the successes you've achieved, the struggles you've faced, and even the way you feel about yourself, most of it is tied to how you've been thinking. If your thoughts are chaotic, filled with doubt or negativity, your actions will reflect that, and your life will follow suit. But when your thoughts are intentional, disciplined, and rooted in possibility, the results can be extraordinary. Every major breakthrough, every life-changing decision, and every moment of clarity begins with a shift in the mind. Think about it. The human brain is the control center of our existence. It governs how we perceive the world, how we interpret challenges, and how we respond to opportunities. Yet so many of us let our minds run on autopilot. We allow fear, worry, or the voices of past failures to dictate our inner dialogue. When we do this, we unknowingly surrender control over our lives. It's as if we're handing the wheel of our future to forces that don't have our best interests at heart. But what if, instead of being passengers to our thoughts, we took control? What if we could train our minds to think differently? This isn't just an abstract idea, it's a real and transformative practice. You see, the mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it, and whatever you nurture, will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and self-criticism, those will take root. They'll grow into weeds that choke out your potential. But if you consciously plant seeds of confidence, hope, and determination, your life will blossom in ways you never imagined. This doesn't mean you can snap your fingers and instantly think positive thoughts all the time. No, controlling your mind is not about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about being intentional with your thoughts. It's about recognizing when a thought is limiting you and choosing to replace it with one that empowers you. For example, instead of thinking, "I can't do this," you can shift to, "I don't know how to do this yet, but I can figure it out." That single shift from "I can't" to "I can learn" opens up an entirely new world of possibilities. But here's the thing, this process requires awareness. Most people don't even realize the thoughts that dominate their minds. They wake up every day and carry the same mental patterns with them. Patterns that might have been picked up from childhood, from society, or from past experiences. And if those patterns are negative, they end up replaying the same unhelpful script over and over again. The key is to interrupt that script, to pause and ask yourself, why am I thinking this? Is this thought serving me, or is it holding me back? When you start to challenge your thoughts, you create room for growth. You begin to see that many of the limitations you once believed in were never real. They were just mental barriers. And as you break down those barriers, something incredible happens. You start to take actions that align with your new way of thinking. Those actions lead to results, and those results reinforce your belief in what's possible. It becomes a cycle, a powerful upward spiral that can completely transform your life. But it all starts with what you allow to take root in your mind. The world around us will always try to influence our thoughts. We are constantly bombarded with negativity, whether it's from the news, social media, or even the people closest to us. That's why controlling your mind is not just a skill, it's a discipline. You have to decide every single day what thoughts you will entertain and what thoughts you will reject. You have to decide that you won't let fear dictate your decisions. You have to decide that you won't let past failures define your future. Because if you don't control your mind, someone or something else will. The beauty of this process is that it's entirely within your power. You don't need anyone else's permission to take charge of your thoughts. You don't need perfect circumstances, and you don't need to have it all figured out. All you need is the willingness to start. To catch yourself when your mind begins to wander into negativity and redirect it towards something constructive. To believe that you have the ability to think differently and in doing so, live differently. And let me tell you, once you start to see the changes that come from controlling your mind, you'll wonder why you ever let it run wild in the first place. You'll realize that you've had the power to change your life all along. It was never out there in the world. It was always within you, waiting for you to take control. And that is the moment when everything begins to shift. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of controlling your mind. You cannot manage what you don't understand, and most people, truthfully, don't spend much time understanding themselves. They live on autopilot, reacting to life rather than actively shaping it. But when you take the time to truly look inward, to understand your thoughts, your emotions, and the patterns that drive your behavior, everything begins to change. Self-awareness is like turning on the light in a dark room. You see things clearly for the first time, and only then can you decide what stays, what goes, and what needs to be rearranged. The problem is many of us avoid that light. We distract ourselves with endless noise, our phones, our work, even our relationships. Why? Because looking inward can be uncomfortable. It forces us to face our fears, our insecurities, and sometimes even our mistakes. But here's the truth. You cannot grow unless you are willing to confront the parts of yourself that need work. Growth requires honesty. It requires asking yourself tough questions like, why do I keep reacting this way? Why do I hold on to this belief? Is this really who I want to be? Once you start asking those questions, you'll notice something fascinating. You'll begin to see patterns in your thoughts and emotions. Patterns that have likely been guiding your life without you even realizing it. For example, you might notice that every time you're about to try something new, you hear a voice in your head saying, what if I fail? Or maybe you realize that certain situations trigger frustration or fear, even when there's no logical reason for it. These patterns aren't random. They've been shaped by your past experiences, by the stories you've told yourself, and by the world around you. But here's the key. Just because a pattern exists doesn't mean it has to control you. When you become aware of your patterns, you gain the power to interrupt them. You can choose to respond differently. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you, and your first instinct is to get defensive. That's a pattern. But if you're aware of it, you can pause, take a breath, and choose a different response. Instead of reacting emotionally, you might respond with curiosity. What can I learn from this feedback? That simple shift might seem small, but over time, these moments of self-awareness add up. They begin to shape a new version of you, one who is calm, intentional, and in control. But awareness isn't just about noticing patterns in your behavior. It's also about understanding the root causes behind them. Why do you react the way you do? Why do certain situations trigger certain emotions? This is where reflection comes in. Reflection isn't about judgment, it's about curiosity. It's about sitting with yourself and asking, what's really going on here? Maybe you realize that your fear of failure isn't about the task in front of you. It's about a memory of being criticized as a child. Maybe you see that your frustration with others is actually a reflection of the frustration you feel toward yourself. The beauty of self-awareness is that it doesn't just help you understand your challenges, it also helps you discover your strengths. Too often we focus on what's wrong with us, but self-awareness shines a light on what's right. It reminds you of your resilience, your kindness, your ability to adapt. When you see yourself clearly, you don't just see the flaws, you see the full picture. And that full picture is what allows you to move forward with confidence and purpose. Of course, self-awareness isn't something you achieve once and then forget about. It's a daily practice. It's taking a moment each day to check in with yourself and ask, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? Am I living in alignment with my values? It might sound simple, but those moments of reflection are incredibly powerful. They keep you grounded. They remind you of who you are and who you want to be. One of the most effective ways to build self-awareness is through mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't about sitting cross-legged and meditating for hours. It's about being present in the moment. It's about noticing your thoughts without judgment, noticing your emotions without letting them take over. For example, if you're feeling anxious, instead of trying to push the feeling away, you might simply say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now. That simple act of acknowledgement creates space. It allows you to step back and observe your emotions, rather than being swept away by them. Another powerful tool for self-awareness is journaling. Writing down your thoughts and feelings helps you see them more clearly. It's like having a conversation with yourself, one that's honest and unfiltered. The truth is, self-awareness is a gift. It gives you the power to choose how you want to live your life. It allows you to let go of what no longer serves you and embrace what does. And when you combine self-awareness with the intention to grow, you become unstoppable. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop letting your past define you and start defining your future. Because the moment you see yourself clearly is the moment you realize just how much control you truly have. Changing your life starts with changing the way you think, but often what holds us back is something far deeper than surface-level thoughts. It's the beliefs we carry, the ones we've built over time without even realizing it. These beliefs shape the lens through which we see the world, and they dictate what we think is possible. If those beliefs are limiting, they act like invisible barriers, quietly keeping us from stepping into our full potential. But here's the good news. Beliefs can be challenged, and they can be changed. The process isn't always easy, but it is absolutely worth it. The tricky thing about beliefs is that they often feel like facts. If you've told yourself, "I'm not good at this," or "people like me never succeed," those statements might feel like the truth. But are they? Or are they stories you've picked up along the way? Maybe they came from a failure in the past, or from someone's careless comment, or even from years of comparison to others. Wherever they came from, it's important to recognize them for what they are: beliefs, not facts. The difference is significant, because beliefs can be questioned, and when you start to question them, you give yourself the power to replace them with something new. Here's where the mindset shift begins. Instead of accepting limiting beliefs as truth, ask yourself, is this really true? And even if it feels true, is it helping me? You might find that the belief you've been holding on to is not only untrue, but also unhelpful. For example, if you believe you're not creative, how often will you allow yourself to explore new ideas? How likely are you to take risks or think outside the box? That belief doesn't just describe you, it limits you. Now imagine replacing that belief with one that empowers you. I'm learning to be more creative every day. Do you see the difference? One belief keeps you stuck, while the other opens doors. This process of shifting your mindset is not about lying to yourself or pretending you're something you're not. It's about creating beliefs that align with the person you want to become. It's about giving yourself permission to grow, to learn, and to step into possibilities you might have once dismissed. A belief is simply a thought you've repeated enough times for it to feel true. So, if you can create limiting beliefs through repetition, you can also create empowering ones the same way. The beauty of this shift is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process, one that happens moment by moment, decision by decision. Every time you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," you have a choice. You can let that belief take over, or you can challenge it. You can remind yourself that just because you haven't done something before doesn't mean you're incapable of doing it now. And every time you make that choice to think differently, you reinforce the new belief. Over time, it becomes your default way of thinking. But here's the thing. Shifting your mindset isn't just about replacing negative beliefs with positive ones. It's also about adopting a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and potential are not fixed. They can be developed. It's the understanding that failure is not a dead end, it's a stepping stone. When you approach life with a growth mindset, challenges become opportunities. You stop avoiding difficulties because you're no longer afraid of failing. Instead, you see every experience, good or bad, as a chance to learn and grow. Think about the possibilities this opens up. With a growth mindset, you stop defining yourself by your past and start defining yourself by your future. You stop seeing setbacks as reasons to quit and start seeing them as reasons to try again, this time with more knowledge and resilience. You stop saying, "I'm not good at this," and start saying, "I'm not good at this yet." That one word, yet, makes all the difference. It reminds you that you are a work in progress, and that progress is always possible. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce this mindset is through action. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. Every time you try something new, even if it scares you, you chip away at those old, limiting beliefs. Action creates evidence, and evidence strengthens belief. So, the next time you feel doubt creeping in, take a small step forward anyway. Show yourself what's possible. What's remarkable about shifting your mindset is how it affects not just you, but everything around you. When you believe in your ability to grow and adapt, you start to inspire others to do the same. Your energy changes, your confidence grows, and suddenly the opportunities that once felt out of reach start to come into focus. That's the power of belief. Not just belief in general, but belief in yourself. The truth is, your life will always reflect the mindset you carry. If your beliefs are limiting, your life will feel limited. But when your beliefs are empowering, your life expands in ways you never imagined. So, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. You don't have to accept the beliefs you've been carrying. You can challenge them, you can change them. And when you do, you'll realize that the only limits you've ever faced were the ones you placed on yourself. Recognize and discipline are the twin pillars of transformation. Without them, even the greatest intentions crumble under the weight of distraction. In today's world, distractions are everywhere, on our phones, in our minds, and even in the expectations of others. If you don't take control of your focus, it will be stolen from you. And when your focus is scattered, your energy is scattered. You end up doing a little bit of everything but accomplishing nothing that truly matters. The good news is that focus and discipline are skills, not traits. They aren't something you're born with. They're something you develop through consistent effort and intention. At its core, focus is about direction. It's the ability to keep your attention on what truly matters and block out everything else. But focus alone isn't enough. It needs to be paired with discipline. Discipline is the commitment to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. The truth is, there will always be moments when distractions feel more appealing than your goals. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward in those moments. It's what allows you to align your actions with your priorities, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. The first step in mastering focus and discipline is to get clear about what truly matters to you. So often, people struggle to stay focused because they're chasing goals that don't genuinely align with their values or desires. If you're working towards something just because you think you should, or because it's what others expect of you, your motivation will waver. But when your goals are deeply connected to your purpose, when they light a fire inside you, staying focused becomes easier. Clarity creates direction, and direction fuels discipline. Once you know what matters, the next step is to eliminate unnecessary distractions. This doesn't mean you have to shut out the world or live in isolation. It simply means being intentional about where your attention goes. Distractions often feel harmless in the moment, but over time, they rob you of your most valuable resource, your time. Scrolling through social media, checking your phone every 5 minutes, or saying yes to commitments that don't align with your goals. All of these things chip away at your focus. The key is to identify the distractions in your life and create boundaries around them. Turn off notifications, set time limits for unproductive activities, and protect the time you've dedicated to what truly matters. Another powerful way to strengthen your focus is to break your goals into smaller, manageable steps. Big goals can feel overwhelming, and that overwhelm can lead to procrastination. But when you break them down into specific tasks, they become less intimidating. Each small step you take builds momentum, and that momentum fuels your discipline. It's like climbing a mountain. If you focus only on the peak, it might feel impossible to reach. But if you focus on taking one step at a time, you'll eventually find yourself at the top. The mind thrives on routine, and establishing consistent habits is one of the most effective ways to cultivate discipline. When you build routines that align with your goals, you remove the need to rely on willpower alone. Willpower is finite. It's strongest at the start of the day and fades as you make more decisions. But habits operate on autopilot. When you create a routine, you eliminate the mental energy it takes to decide what to do next. For example, if you're trying to improve your health, committing to exercise at the same time every day makes it a non-negotiable part of your schedule rather than something you have to debate with yourself. Focus also requires learning to say no. This can be one of the hardest things to do, especially when you want to be helpful or avoid disappointing others. But every time you say yes to something that isn't aligned with your priorities, you're saying no to something that is. Protecting your focus means recognizing that your time and energy are finite. You can't do everything, and you don't need to. When you learn to say no to what doesn't matter, you create space for what does. One of the challenges people face with discipline is the misconception that it's about being perfect. But discipline isn't about never slipping up. It's about consistency. It's about showing up again and again, even after setbacks. There will be days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. On those days, discipline doesn't mean pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. It means doing the best you can with what you have. Sometimes that might mean giving 100%. Other times it might mean giving 50%. But as long as you keep showing up, you're building the habit of discipline. It's also important to celebrate progress along the way. Discipline can feel like a grind if you never take the time to acknowledge how far you've come. Each small win is proof that your efforts are paying off. It's a reminder that focus and discipline work, that they're not just concepts, but powerful tools that can reshape your life. Ultimately, focus and discipline are about creating alignment between your goals and your actions. They're about choosing what matters most and committing to it, day after day. And when you do, you'll discover something remarkable. The life you've always wanted isn't as far away as it once seemed. It's right there, waiting for you to claim it. The people you surround yourself with have a profound impact on your mind, your habits, and ultimately your life. It's often said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and there's truth to that. Your environment shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your reality. If you're constantly around negativity, doubt, or people who don't believe in your dreams, it becomes that much harder to stay positive, focused, and disciplined. On the other hand, when you're surrounded by individuals who uplift you, challenge you, and inspire you, their energy fuels your own. The right relationships can act as a catalyst for your growth. Think about it. Every conversation you have, every piece of advice you receive, and even the subtle cues you pick up from the people around you feed into your mindset. When someone doubts you, their doubt can become a seed of self-doubt within you. When someone encourages you, their belief can bolster your own. That's why it's so important to be intentional about who you let into your inner circle. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. This doesn't mean you should cut people out of your life arbitrarily, but it does mean you need to assess whether the people closest to you are helping you grow or holding you back. We've all experienced situations where someone's energy drained us. Maybe it was a friend who always seemed to focus on the negative, or a colleague who constantly dismissed your ideas. These interactions don't just affect you in the moment, they linger. They make you second-guess yourself or carry a heaviness that clouds your perspective. Over time, those small moments of doubt or negativity accumulate. They shape your beliefs about what's possible for you. And if you're not careful, you might start adopting those limiting perspectives as your own. That's why surrounding yourself with the right people is a form of self-care. It's about protecting your mental space and nurturing an environment that fosters growth. The people you want in your life are those who inspire you to be better, not because they criticize or pressure you, but because they believe in your potential. They celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and they challenge you to aim higher, not out of judgment, but out of genuine care. These are the people who, when you're feeling lost or stuck, remind you of your worth and help you find your way back to your path. But here's the thing, it's not just about finding people who inspire you, it's also about being that person for others. Relationships are a two-way street. If you want a circle that uplifts and empowers you, you need to show up as someone who uplifts and empowers others. This means being intentional about how you communicate, how you support the people in your life, and how you show up for them, especially in their moments of doubt or difficulty. When you radiate positivity, kindness, and encouragement, you attract those same qualities in return. Like energy attracts like energy. One of the most powerful aspects of the right relationships is the accountability they bring. When you surround yourself with people who are committed to growth, their commitment inspires you to stay on track with your own goals. They hold you accountable, not by forcing you, but by setting an example. They remind you of the importance of discipline, focus, and perseverance, simply by living those values themselves. And when you start to stray from your path, they're the ones who nudge you back, not with judgment, but with understanding. But accountability isn't always comfortable. Sometimes the people who care about you the most are the ones who will challenge you the hardest. They'll call you out when you're making excuses or when you're settling for less than you're capable of. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, even frustrating. But when you look back, you'll realize those moments of tough love were some of the most valuable gifts they could have given you. True support isn't about telling you what you want to hear, it's about telling you what you need to hear to grow. It's also important to recognize that sometimes the journey to building the right circle means letting go of relationships that no longer serve you. This can be one of the hardest decisions to make, especially when those relationships have been a part of your life for a long time. But holding on to connections that drain you or keep you stagnant only holds you back. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring about those people. It simply means you prioritize your growth and your well-being. And sometimes, creating distance gives both you and the other person the space to grow in your own ways. The beautiful thing is that when you align yourself with the right people, you don't just grow individually, you grow collectively. You create a ripple effect where each person's success inspires and elevates the others. You push each other to dream bigger, to take bold action, and to keep going when the path gets tough. And as you grow together, you realize that the journey isn't just about reaching your destination, it's about the connections you build along the way. Your environment is a reflection of your values, your energy, and your intentions. Surrounding yourself with the right people isn't just a strategy for success, it's a commitment to living a life of purpose, joy, and meaning. And when you find those people, the ones who truly see you, believe in you, and walk beside you, you'll discover that there's no limit to what you can achieve. True transformation begins with action. It's easy to dream, to plan, and to set goals, but the real difference is made when you take those first steps forward. Action is where thoughts and intentions come alive, where ideas move from abstract to tangible, and where the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to close. The challenge, of course, is that action often feels like the hardest part. There's fear, uncertainty, and the overwhelming weight of not knowing if you'll succeed. But here's the truth. Nothing changes until you move. It's natural to feel hesitant when standing on the edge of something new. The mind loves the familiar. It's comfortable, safe, and predictable. Even when we know the familiar isn't serving us, stepping into the unknown can feel intimidating. But that hesitation is where growth begins. Every time you act despite fear, you're telling yourself, I am capable. You're proving that your goals and dreams are more important than your doubts. And with each action, no matter how small, you build momentum. Momentum is a powerful force. It carries you forward even on days when motivation fades, and it's often the key to turning fleeting moments of inspiration into lasting change. One of the most common traps is waiting for the perfect time to act. We convince ourselves that tomorrow will be better, that we'll be more prepared, or that circumstances will align perfectly if we just wait a little longer. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. Life will always be full of uncertainties, challenges, and distractions. If you wait for perfection, you'll be waiting forever. The only time you have is now, and now is enough. Even imperfect action is better than no action at all. Because when you take that first step, you begin to figure things out. You learn, you adapt, and you grow. But none of that can happen if you stay still. Action doesn't have to be monumental to be meaningful. Sometimes it's the smallest steps that create the biggest ripples. Think about it. Making a single phone call, writing down one idea, or dedicating just 10 minutes to a goal may seem insignificant in the moment, but those small actions add up over time. They create habits, and habits create change. Consistency is what transforms small efforts into extraordinary results. It's not about doing everything all at once. It's about showing up day after day, even when it feels hard, even when progress seems slow. Another important thing to remember is that failure is a natural part of taking action. There's no avoiding it, and there shouldn't be. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's part of the journey. Every misstep is an opportunity to learn something valuable about yourself, your goals, and your approach. In fact, the most successful people are often the ones who have failed the most. The difference is that they didn't let failure stop them. They used it as fuel to refine their efforts and grow stronger. So don't fear failure. Fear staying in the same place because you were too afraid to try. It's also important to stay flexible in your actions. The path to your goals will rarely be a straight line. You might try one thing and find it doesn't work. That's okay. pivot, adjust, and try again. The willingness to adapt is what keeps you moving forward, even when the original plan doesn't pan out. What matters most is not that you stick to a rigid path, but that you keep moving toward your destination. As long as you're taking steps, you're making progress. Sometimes the biggest barrier to action is the belief that we need to do it all alone. But no one achieves great things entirely on their own. It's okay to ask for help, to seek guidance, and to lean on others when you need support. Collaboration doesn't diminish your efforts, it amplifies them. Surround yourself with people who encourage action, who push you to keep going, and who remind you why you started when the journey gets tough. Together you can accomplish far more than you ever could alone. What's remarkable about action is how quickly it changes not just your circumstances, but also your mindset. The moment you take that first step, you start to see possibilities you couldn't see before. You prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. And with each step forward, your confidence grows. Action creates clarity. It turns vague dreams into concrete realities. It helps you figure out what works, what doesn't, and what's worth pursuing. And as you keep moving, you realize that the process itself is just as rewarding as the destination. The beauty of action is that it creates a ripple effect. When you act, you inspire others to act. Your courage becomes a beacon for those around you, showing them that change is possible. And before you know it, your willingness to move forward has not only transformed your own life, but also touched the lives of others. That's the power of action. It's a force that multiplies, expands, and elevates everything it touches. So don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. Start now. Take that first step, no matter how small. Because every step forward brings you closer to the life you want. Every action, no matter how uncertain, is a statement to yourself and the world. You're ready, you're capable, and you're moving towards something greater.